Okay, Mayor, we're live and
Are we live?
on Zoom. Yeah.
Okay. On behalf of the City Council and the staff of Syracuse, I welcome you to a continuance of our meeting this evening. We have just completed a truth and taxation hearing with those present here in council chambers and those present on Zoom. In order to keep the integrity of our meeting minutes and our recordings, we have left the Zoom meeting that was being held in lieu of during the public hearing, and we have asked people to re-log in to join us. So here we are. Council, I would accept a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
I have a motion by Dave. Do I have a second? Second by Seth. Is that I heard? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we're at a point where we would normally have public comment. We're going to do that again this evening. If you would like to address the council on any issue that's in your heart, we would love to have you come forward. If you'd use the microphone here at the front, at the stand, give us your name and your place of residence, and we'll give you 3 minutes.
My name is Patrick Martinez, and I live at 1572 West, 2700 South here in Syracuse. Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council, I do want to say that I appreciate all the work that you do here. I know you spend a lot of time away from your family, and I know that you're committed to the job, so I do appreciate that. Most of the questions or things that I was going to talk about have been answered at this meeting. I do want to say, though, that I guess at a previous meeting, you talked about the drought and the problems that we're having. I was going to mention that, but you've already talked about that because we're having, as you know, a new development going on in the city, and that's going to affect our water source. So I did have some concerns about that, but it looks like to me that you've already discussed that. And the other thing that I wanted to mention is, have you thought about maybe putting in or giving the residents a choice to install those flow valves in the shower to control the water? That's something that you might consider. They can shut off after a minute and they can turn it back on, and that way people don't waste water. But that was a consideration
Thank you.
that I had.
Thank you.
So
We'll take that under consideration. Here in just a minute, we're going to have a discussion on the drought. So if you want to hang on for that one, we'll have Robert give us a report on the drought. But council, it might be good to talk about low waterfalls at a future work session.
Yeah.
So
yeah, they don't have it mandated, but
Yeah.
it's nice to have them available. Residents want them.
Cassie, would you put a note on a future work session for us to talk? What can be done inside the home to save culinary water? Thank you. Thanks, Cassie.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else here in the chambers? Hearing and seeing none, I'll go to Zoom. Cassie, do you see anyone there with a hand raised?
No, there's no one with hands raised.
Okay, I will close public comment. There'll be another opportunity at the end of this meeting.
I think
Mayor, we did have one emailed public
Did you
comment.
have one? Okay, do you want to read it?
Yes, it says, "Hi, council. I am unable to attend the meeting tonight, but I wanted to comment on the agenda item regarding the property east of Smith's. As you all know, the developers worked with some citizens to change the previous development to something that would be a better compromise and fit for that specific location. I just wanted to show my support for this proposal with townhomes and wanted to express that the developers are upholding their agreement they made with the citizens by sticking to the townhome commercial mix, and we appreciate that they are keeping their end of the agreement. We know these townhomes and the increased commercial footprint are a much better fit for the location and the surrounding community. Thanks, Rachel Page."
Thank you. Hearing and seeing others, will close public comment. And as I mentioned, there'll be an opportunity at the end of the meeting. Robert, do you want to give us a report on our drought condition?
Can I share a screen? Okay. All right, council. Just to give you an update of where we are with our water supply, let me just show this little one here. This is current as of today, what our upstream reservoirs have for water that's available. Echo Reservoir by far is the largest water volume at 73,000 acre feet would be full. It's 18% full right now. We also get some water from East Canyon, that's 51% full, and then Rockport upstream of Echo is 27. So they are slowly emptying, and definitely it's still a concern. The rains have helped just slow down the flow that's coming out of the reservoirs, but the rains have been kind of short-lived. Well, for a short duration is what I mean. So this is where we're at today. We're 60% of our water allotment has been used for the year, which is right on track with how we're rationing the water. We've got just a little bit more than a month left in the water season. So we're doing real good on our allotment coming in. This is a week by week glance of our use, basically our supply and our demand. Blue is the supply. And as you can see, we've ramped it up to the highest amount we can through the hot temperatures in July and August. Last week shows the lowest use, and that's mainly because we had a couple of storms that week. And last week was lower use also, just I think with all of that rainwater, it's helped kind of taper off the real heavy need. Plus we've had some cooler temperatures. We're not in the triple digits anymore. So I think that's certainly helped. So that's where we're at, Council.
Okay. Any questions?
Just a comment. It's amazing how drastic a little rain can affect water need. And I'm so grateful that people were responsive to that and didn't use the water unnecessarily in those weeks, but it is amazing how much that affected.
That's where I wanted to go to. Kudos to everyone that was responsible, went out, shut off their water. Thank you. That will help.
It'll help, yeah.
Yeah, it's heartwarming when we make a plea and we hear people listen. That's great. Okay, thank you, Robert.
Robert.
Okay, Seth, we wanted to talk about a possible reconsideration of an action done on July 13th.
Yeah, do you want me to?
Yeah, just want to lead us out with that.
Sure. Yeah, so we saw the Bennett rezone request, the Bennett property. And while we were discussing it, I was really on the fence, as you guys kind of recall. I was right on the edge because of specifically the stormwater issues, but there were other issues that came forward. And in that process, I thought of ways, or I wanted to kind of consider how we can move forward with the project, because I do believe it's a good project and I think it's the right location. And we wanted to make sure we have good timing on it and the elevation and all that makes sense. And so because of that, I had some conversations with Robert to kind of hear out some of the concerns that might come forward. And I know since then, Robert has shared those with me and a few of you others, I believe, or at least all of you maybe. And in doing that, I think, Noah, you've worked with Robert and had some meetings with the developer. And so I think the major issues were stormwater, sewer, and looping utilities because of the length. And so in light of that, Robert, would you be okay kind of sharing some of your concerns and where we're at with those? And then I think, depending on what we talk about now, I would recommend maybe tabling and getting some of those memorialized and I guess what would be considered a development agreement. I think we could probably do it in 2 weeks, right? During the canvas, could we hold that for a special session? That's kind of my thoughts, but love to hear Robert's feedback.
Yeah, certainly in our last meeting, I had some pretty heavy concerns about well, first of all, the sewer being very shallow in 2700 South, which is where the road connection is. So naturally, that's where the sewer connection would be for the main. Knowing that it's shallow there, and I'm not certain exactly the depth. I think it's maybe 2, possibly 3 feet of cover is all. The road would need to be built up higher than the natural ground is anyway. And the natural ground right now is a little bit lower than the road. So even building up some kind of fill is going to be essential to make it gravity flow. So that certainly was my main concern, which caused another concern for building up the roadway. And the development higher than natural ground, which could create a problem for where natural drainage goes across the surface of the ground. There is, so the flow naturally happens from the east flowing west, right? So I'm looking at the house to the east. It's kind of a newer home that's built. And then east of that house would be the bridge that UDOT would be building. So it's really only just kind of that one house that I'd have concerns, just making sure they would not, this development wouldn't create a potential for flooding on that property because maybe drainage is trapped. And then the third one you mentioned was the long length for the water line main. 2 mains that are too long just are hard to service because the water doesn't, the water quality gets diminished because there's not a lot of flow movement. And then beyond that, if a water main has to be shut off, say midway through because there's a break, the valve is clear at the road and you're putting a lot more homes out of service. So we don't like to go more than 15 homes on a dead end line if we can help it. So those were the 3 main concerns. And yes, we met in a pre-development review meeting that was set up just yesterday, and we met with developer and the developer's engineer, community development, and the city staff engineer. And we vetted all of these concerns out. Developer said that he would be willing to, and I guess he could speak tonight if he wanted to hear, but what was reported just in the meeting, this developer said he'd be willing to take care of the drainage from that one home that I was concerned about, whether it's piping or some way to get that drainage away from the home and into some kind of storm drain. I guess 2700 South is the closest one. And then he'd be willing to shorten the development into more of like a phase 1. So the road wouldn't go all the way to the north end for now, until at some point in the future, if he's able to get an additional road connection in the future, then that next phase could be built with that. That was what he mentioned. So that to me took care of the concerns I had brought up.
Great.
Council, would you like to hear from the developer?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hello, nice to see you again. I just reiterate what Robert had said. Great meeting. This one would be R3, so you wouldn't have a development agreement, but surely we'd be happy to put something in writing to where we would, the first phase would go up to 15 lots. We'd still have a turnaround there, and then we just work out later on the looped utility lines and work with the homeowners to the east. And I believe we thought it was 1 to 2 feet at that area
Of fill?
Of fill on that side where we could just slope it away into a ditch or a drain, or is that what you remember?
Just going 15 lots. I guess that's 7 lots.
Well, I meant the
but-
drainage on the owner to the east, fronting 2700, the existing home.
Oh, 2 feet from the back of that lot to the road. Is that what you're saying?
about 2 feet difference in fill and elevation that we're dealing with on that side.
Okay. I don't recall us really talking
Okay.
about what that fill would end up being.
Well,
I just
whatever.
want to be sure that they.
Yeah,
they would
whatever it is,
not be
we'll work
flooded.
on it and make sure we get the water out. We did do a cut and fill, which we typically do at preliminary. But we did that ahead of the game and to try and make sure that everyone felt comfortable. So that's what we'd love to move forward but we'll hold the first phase at 15.
All right. Paul, can you advise us? I think what we would do now would be just be prepared not to accept the minutes of the July 13th meeting and then table this discussion to the 24th of August.
So you can have the reconsideration just sort of undoes the approval from the last meeting. And then it can be tabled for reconsideration, for a separate consideration.
So
at the next meeting.
I need to have those that voted for this thing.
You'd have
At least, yeah, the first motion needs to be by someone who voted in favor of it.
Yeah, so I would move to reconsider.
Okay. All right. So we will then table this discussion until
We need to take a vote,
we need a vote.
vote on whether to reconsider. Yep.
First of all, I just want to comment that I'm glad that the process took place where, since we're not going to deem this property as undevelopable, that everything was worked out with the staff, which is what I appreciated. And
Now, let me
from the
determine,
beginning. So
let me
thank you.
determine who can vote. We lost you in the meeting.
Everyone can vote.
Everybody can vote.
Yeah, everyone
This is-
votes.
What we're
So-
doing is we're voting on whether for the minutes, right?
What?
No.
No, this is a vote.
Reconsider.
Maybe I'll back up. I can just explain sort of the process. So in your rules of procedure, there's a process by which you can reconsider a prior decision that was made. You can do that during the meeting where the decision was made, or at the meeting where the minutes are being considered for approval.
Right.
So this is the second. The vote at this point, in order for a reconsideration motion to be heard, the one person who supported the approval needs to make the motion, which Seth has done.
Which Seth is-
Any member of the council may second, and then the whole council votes on the reconsideration question. And then that just sort of puts it back on the table.
Okay.
And then the question is, do you postpone it? Do you vote the other way? That's up for the council to
I
decide.
second the motion.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, it's been reconsidered.
So I would move that we table this discussion upon.
Future meeting.
Yeah.
2 weeks
And
from
if you
now.
can move it to
2
the
weeks.
meeting in 2 weeks, I think we can get something in writing pretty quick.
Okay.
Whatever that looks like, if it's a development agreement or whatever it takes to just get those items memorialized, then I'm.
We want clarity. That's what this reconsideration is for.
Okay. Okay, we have a motion to table.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, it's tabled. We'll bring it up in 2 weeks. All right.
Now that that's been done, we can approve the minutes from that meeting, correct? Because this motion has now been resolved.
Right, yeah, you don't have to amend the minutes or anything. That'll be covered in this meeting's minutes.
Right. Thank you.
Council, we are asked to approve the minutes of June 22nd, 2021.
Motion to approve.
A motion on 2022-21, a special meeting, and a motion of July 13th, 2021, a business meeting. I have a motion from Dave to approve.
Second.
I have a second from Jordan. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Cassie, those records stand. Let me make this announcement to you through a proposed resolution R2136 appointing Jeremy Turner to the Syracuse Architectural Review Committee. Can I have a motion?
Can we make those all three together?
Yes,
for
I would
one
be
item?
glad to.
So I'll make a motion that we approve R21-38, R21-39, R21-40, appointing various members to various committees.
Okay, thank you, Dave. Do I have a second? Second by Seth. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Might make note that we've had some resignations this week from various committees. We will begin a public hearing regarding R2136, amending the Syracuse city consolidated fee schedule. Steve, do you want to? Is Robert? Okay.
Yeah, so council, this was one I brought to you as a proposal in our work session. And so we discussed it a little bit in our last meeting. However, I'll just summarize it quickly and briefly here. With construction happening in our city, there is a lot of water being used for construction needs. And we recognize that it needs to be by law in order to keep dust down. And then also it's required to achieve soil compaction for solid roadways. So the need is not going to go away. However, it made us start looking at the cost of water and how much water is being used. We have compared it to our allotment that we are contracting with through Weber Basin. We are running on track. It's slightly on the high side, which concerns me a little bit, but we will just continue to follow it through the rest of the year and see what happens. What I don't want to have happen is for that to get too out of control with potential wasting of water or overusing water, even for construction water. Certainly in a drought, it's easier for us. So I guess it's times in a drought when we watch for things like that a little closer. So I have put together a table showing what other cities are charging around us for bulk water. And we are on the lower side, and you've got that information right there. So in the table, the only city that doesn't charge a monthly is Layton, and that's because they just have a bulk water fill station only. What I had suggested last meeting is maybe we do the same. However, one or two of you had brought up maybe we do a hybrid. And as I got thinking of it, you're right. I think that would be a great thing to have both a hybrid, mainly because one or two of our users, particularly with West Davis coming in, they have an elevated tank that is right on site of their project. So it allows trucks to just stay there, stage there, without having to use our roads to get the truck to our bulk fill station and then back. So I'm glad you brought that up. I think it does make sense to maintain maybe more of a hybrid type situation. So, and if so, we don't have a bulk fill station, but I certainly see the sense in doing that for better water tracking and invoicing and not losing these temporary hydrants. So I've proposed to you costs. It's page 66 in the packet. If I can get there. So the proposal would be keeping our $30 a month for the hydrant rental, for the temporary rental, and then adding a late fee. A lot of the times for these temporary hydrants, it's hard for us to get them to pay their bill or get them to actually respond to us, letting them know what the meter read is. So that's a little incentive there. Excuse me. The hydrant meter deposit doesn't. Pardon. I got.
Don't need to get choked up about it, Robert. I know this is emotional stuff, but.
It's okay. Coffee for you too. We know you don't have COVID.
I'll probably need a drink, but
Would you like some candy?
I have a mint.
She
just
also
needs
has
water.
lotion that she can rub on her feet.
Just to give you a little relief here, Robert, I'll begin and say what you've put in the packet looks
Everything's there.
correct. I think that we owe it to the citizens to add this late fee, because it's not really fair to ask the citizens to bank people who don't want to pay bills and have to delay this. So I think that that's wise. is just a little incentive because there's no need to pay it if you just pay your bills on time. So rather than us being the bank and waiting for them 6 months down the road to pay a bill. So I agree with this. And I would actually, I mean, I'll allow for more discussion, but I'd actually make the motion that we just move forward with R 21-36.
I need to have a public hearing first.
Okay,
Okay. Counselor, you all right if we go into public hearing?
yes.
All right. We're,
According to Dave.
For Robert.
those of you here, we're now in public hearing. If any of you would like to address the council on this financial issue, would like to hear from you now. Hearing and seeing none, I'll now turn to Dave for a motion.
I'll make the motion that we propose, or that we pass motion R 21-36, amending the Syracuse Consolidated Fee Schedule, making adjustments for hydrant meter rental and general use fees.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Corinne. Any further discussion, council?
There's a couple things I'd like to add in.
Yes.
We didn't really have a discussion before we voted
No, it's fine.
or before we made the motions. One thing I want to make it clear of is I think we need to try and steer the majority, because managing those hydrants is a lot of staff time and paperwork and trying to track people down and late fees and all of that. I'd prefer the bulk fill station be the primary source. And in order to get one of the hydrant meters, that would require them to have, we need a compelling reason to do that. And that would be something like you mentioned. They are keeping the water truck on site. It'll just be replenished from that meter. But if they're going to be driving around the community anyway, I'd really like to try and limit the amount of staff time we have to spend collecting on this. So
I just want to add to that, Jordan. I think that you were on the right track. I think that.
thank you.
Well, no, not that you need my approval. I'm just going to, I'm going to add to that, that we probably ought to consider for a future meeting an addition to code that would offer those compelling reasons, such as rate elevated tank on site. If there was a condition that was met, then they wouldn't need that, but that would.
I would add to that current on their payment of billing as well. Do you know what I mean? That they're current and not
They're not a
delinquent.
Yeah, but that would be a future resolution because it's not included
Right.
in this one, but I
Correct.
would recommend that.
I actually agree with that. I'd like to try and keep as many large trucks off the roads as we can. So I do want to make sure that that their incentive is there, but at the same time, there is a lot of staff time involved in chasing down these meters. And I've heard we've even lost some, so we're never able to collect on them. And that's just a lot of work that we're doing for not enough.
And that's probably something else that should be in that code is there's a compensation for a lost meter. Worst case scenario.
There is, they would lose their deposit. There's a 1,700 deposit.
Good.
And they would just lose that.
Well, but I mean, if we can't.
If it covers the
meter it,
cost.
If the meter's gone, then we have to bill for worst case scenario.
You have no idea how much water they used in that month.
Yeah.
That is
Yes, you're
true, too.
replacing the meter, but
That's true.
maybe they used that much water, and so they replaced the
Maybe
meter, but
it's
didn't pay for the
not
water.
maybe overbilling.
That could be true. Right.
Do you
So
have an average idea of what it costs per month in water, what their fees usually turn
Yeah.
out to be?
You had that.
packet.
Yeah, in the
They-
previous packet, it was.
Yeah, they vary pretty greatly.
It's okay. It was in the thousands of gallons.
Yeah, we see about 80 to 100,000 gallons of construction water each day.
So-
Which is equivalent to about 300 homes just for standard use. It is quite a bit of water, but the cost, I couldn't
we
tell you
should
off the cuff.
Put in in a future code, something that says that you pay the worst case scenario if you lose your meter. That puts the onus on them to protect the meter and not lose it.
So is the fee schedule mirroring Layton's? Is it $5? Is that where we?
And that's what I put in there. I figured
need to-
you
that's what I
guys
was
can
thinking
do what
as
you
well.
want.
It is
That's
fair.
why I put in that other chart, just a breakdown for the return on investment for the bulk.
4 months to get that.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to change it, it's fine, but 5 is not bad at all.
I thought that was reasonable, and then that will actually be a little more service oriented than Layton by also offering the hybrid program.
Yeah. Are you,
I'm
Well,
okay with the way you have it proposed, but I do think we need to add some clarification for the meter and the late fee associated with the meter. And also the penalty for a lost meter includes
there
the
needs
cost
to
of
be
the
a
meter
lost.
and what,
Yeah, and whatever the water.
Estimate of water used.
estimate, mhm.
Council, 5 minutes ago, we had a motion and a second.
we didn't get to talk before. so-
Well, what we're talking about there
Well,
really is.
we're
something
supporting
that
the
has to
bulk
be in a
station,
future
though, and
motion.
we're-
But we
Can
can
I-
vote now if you'd like.
yeah, can I just ask one other thing? Is that second bullet item on the action items?
Yeah.
If you'd give approval to purchase a bulk water fill station.
So 65K. I would support it. I mean, this plan doesn't work without the water station.
Agreed.
So I'll amend my motion to include that.
That's a friendly
Have a
amendment.
second?
I'll
Is that a friendly amendment?
Friendly amendment. Yes, I'll accept.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Robert. And then Jordan and Dave, could you get with Robert and those additional
sure.
things you'd like to talk about in the future? Okay, Noah?
Thanks, Robert. Take care.
Don't
Water's
apologize.
emotional for some of us. I get it.
Stuff happens.
Howdy, council.
No.
Well, thank you. And yourself?
Doing good. Briggs North. So nothing has changed since last time we talked about this. Do you have any questions for me?
No, at least not for myself. Can't speak for the rest.
I do not.
We want his own.
No,
No, no.
nothing. Jordan, you want to lead us out or do you want to make a motion?
Sorry, I was taking notes from the last one.
So I will just say this then. I'm still against the 3-story. I would prefer that they make this work without that. I understand that that's not a discussion that we can change, but that is my lingering objection.
You're referring to the few units that needed to
Yeah,
get 3-story.
one building that would go 3 stories.
Oh, yeah. no.
I don't see it as a necessity. I don't see it as a good fit. But there's differences of opinion. So that's all I'm going to say. We can differ in our opinion.
Yeah, we can. Jordan?
So for clarity's sake, this is the property east of Smith's.
Yes.
I was actually glad to hear Rachel's comment earlier. So this is one that I have voted against prior to this. It was not a good fit. It was apartments. It was big apartments. The citizens came out against it. Rachel actually led that charge, her and a few others. And so this has come a long ways from lots and lots of apartments to the townhomes and the mixed use component with the drive-throughs. So this actually gets me to what I had originally requested months and months ago. So at this point, I think this is a much better development than what was proposed originally. I think the citizens' voices have been heard, and I am okay moving forward on this.
Is there anyone that has a differing opinion?
Well, I just stated mine. And
Right.
other than that, no.
Okay. All right.
I would just say that it's interesting that, 2-story units, 20 feet from a fence versus 85 feet away, 3-story. I don't know. It's kind of an interesting dilemma, but this is half of the units that were originally proposed. And that's what the developers agreed to do to help this area be happy with it. I'm good with it.
I'd entertain a motion.
Are we still having a question, though? We had some considerations last time to decide if we want to keep it zoned this way because it doesn't go along with our original mixed use idea. So what is this? You say
had
nothing has
discussed-
changed since the last time. Do we need something to change?
We had clarified that we felt like there were 3 of us that agreed that because it fit the spirit of what was being requested for this, and they previously had larger density that did fit the mixed use, but it's, like I stated, the commercial's within a half mile, so it worked for me so that they don't have to go through the whole
way the
rezone,
proposal was
redo,
written.
and creation of a new zone, really.
Yeah, I could review kind of where we're at if that's helpful.
Please.
So last time we talked about a few different scenarios. So one scenario, we could utilize the mixed use ordinance while utilizing what we'd call the offsite option for the commercial. We know that the commercial didn't meet the mixed use. And so that was kind of using the mixed uses in a new way. One of the other options that we talked about was to potentially amend the mixed use ordinance so that the commercial was a little bit more realistic. And then the other option was to potentially amend the PRD. And that was, I think we debated that. I think the majority kind of fell on the option of just utilizing the mixed use ordinance with the development agreement. So that's why I didn't go into it all, but I think modifying the PRD was still a viable option. And they would have just utilized the general commercial on the commercial portion up front and then utilized PRD on the townhomes in the rear.
But the problem
But
is
is
that
too
Option
late.
that's here.
You have to amend that.
Committee, right?
you had to amend that, and plus it
Right.
removed the requirement of building the commercial. They
Right.
could zone it commercial and never build it, and that would be okay with the PRD.
Yes.
So I think the path forward is the path of least resistance. And with that, I'll go ahead and make the motion.
Thank you, Jordan.
What's that?
Thank you, Jordan.
Thanks, Noah, for your
welcome.
explanation.
Thank
was-
you for
he was
moving
thinking-
Yeah,
forward.
you bet.
So I'll go ahead and make the motion. 2021 or 2021-21, application rezone the agriculture A1 to mixed use and general commercial at approximately 817 West, 1700 South, and authorization to execute development agreement.
Have a second?
Second.
Second by Seth. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed?
Nay.
Okay, would you record that 4-1, Cassie? All right, and I want to thank the developer. I want to thank the council. I want to thank the staff. This area has been under consideration now for 2 years. And finally tonight, we've made a decision, and I think that we can all live with that decision. Compromise is a part of the rule of law. Let's move on. Noah?
This next item is the amendment to the Holt DA. We've also discussed this previously. If you have any questions, let me know.
Seth?
Yeah, I mean, it's where it was at, and I think we agree that the amending the DA process to get us here was how we move forward. The commercial portion is what we're discussing now, or the apartment portion that was less palatable, I guess, for some folks is moving forward. So we need to move forward with the commercial element. I think this is the right decision.
Okay. Any other discussion, council?
Can you review one thing with me? Is there a timeline essential that already in the development agreement? And I apologize for not looking that up, but we've had so many development agreements. I just want to, because we talked at one time about making sure that this was not at the tail end of the project.
Yeah,
Is there a timeline in this that requires it to be at the front end?
I think
I
that's
think there
there
is. I'm
is.
just trying to remember.
Has to be
And they're like-
simultaneous, isn't it?
pre-purchased.
So they can't get occupancy of their last apartment building until they've started construction on this commercial portion.
Okay, so that is a little concerning because I would have preferred that they were built together. I worry that we'll wait on the last building for this to be completely rented out, and that may mean that we have just an unfinished apartment building.
Well,
Yeah, we for sure don't want the commercial to be the holdout. The developer of the commercial is here. I don't want to speak for him, but I'm pretty sure his plans are to build it soon.
Yeah.
Josh,
possible.
Josh, come on.
I'm just looking, I'm getting that we want to do this. I'm just looking for the language that says that we won't use this as linger. We won't take advantage of the loophole that we can let the last
Totally.
building.
Yeah, we want to make sure it's built
We want
up
this
front. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the current DA does allow for this to be pushed way down the road, but we actually want to get it built ASAP, and that's why I've been advertising it.
Right.
As you've
We
seen
already
in
have-
various.
And I did see
forums.
the advertisement.
Yeah, we have
Negotiated already have
deposits
sold.
on half of the units.
Yeah,
Um, Our hope was to pull a building permit and begin on this part of the project in September. So it'd actually be going up at the same time as our first building. Since it took a little bit to amend the DA, we may not be starting until October, but we have engineered drawings ready to submit for building permit. And so
So you could put a lot of my fears to rest by saying that you're not going to wait till you have complete tenant contracts before you build, that you will actually build right away.
you will see assuming this goes through, you'll see a building permit application
Okay.
within 30 or so days.
All right. Okay.
Good.
That does it for me. Thank you.
I can't remember. Did we have a motion?
No, not
A
yet.
motion. Okay. I'm looking for a motion.
Mayor will make the motion that we accept the ordinance 2021-22 to amend the development agreement for the Holt mixed use located at 1225 West 1700 South related to architectural requirements for the commercial portion of the development.
Thank you, Corinne. Have a
Second.
second by Seth. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Dave, I didn't hear you. Aye, okay.
I'm okay with.
4-1, would you record that with Councilman Savage?
Thank you.
Nay. All right, let's go to 10, number 10, Noah.
Okay, this one is also something that we've previously talked about. It's a rezone to PRD. It's called Aspire at Canterbury Park, previously known as Syracuse West. Nothing has changed except for there is a little bit of a loose end that I'd like some clarification on is the fencing. Remember, we talked about the split rail fencing by the roundabout. They've done that, but in the buffer ordinance between different land uses, it gives an option of vinyl or concrete. And if you can imagine the project on the east boundary, there's an existing concrete wall between Walmart. The north boundary, there's an existing split rail fence that they propose to upgrade to 6-foot vinyl. The west boundary is proposed to add a split rail fence between the park. And then the south boundary, they're proposing to add a split rail fence between the roundabout and their park area. But there's a little section where it's the side yard of the southernmost townhome that they're proposing to do a vinyl fence with some landscaping on the north side of that. And so that's one of the minor remaining issues. I just want a clarification because the ordinance gives choices and that's what they're proposing. So if you're okay with what they're proposing, we can just move forward. But if you did have any concerns,
Why would there be a concern?
if you were concerned about
Just to
the,
split
The
rail all the
unity
way.
of it or.
no,
makes
mainly
sense.
a concern that I've brought up with them is if you're on Antelope and you have a commercial project and then a residential project, the commercial project might not be built for a year or so. And so if you imagine yourself driving west on Antelope and you look north there, you see a white vinyl fence or you would see a stamped concrete wall. So I was recommending that they match what Walmart's doing, but I know that adds burden to them and their project. And so I just wanted to bounce that.
I'm not so concerned about the
Costume.
burden because if it made more sense, but I think it's more appealing to have homes up against a park that are not blocked by a wall. You'd think that you'd want people to.
He's
So
talking
this is
about
the wall on the
next
south
commercial.
side that
Yep.
would abut up to the commercial
The-
lot.
Oh,
The-
Not talking the
I
west,
thought you
we're
were talking
talking
the
south.
west side.
Right.
where the
Yeah.
split rail.
It's the future commercial to the
So yeah,
south.
right now it looks like
Open.
Except for.
weeds.
okay,
Yeah.
So you want
except for-
weeds and a white vinyl fence or weeds and a
and
wall
a concrete
Okay, but-
wall.
Isn't
for the time
there-
being, and then it will develop So
okay,
it's a
so
better.
that lot
buffer
is still
between-
commercial, so won't there still be a commercial buffer requirement for that for future build out?
Yes, which has to be vinyl or concrete.
Vinyl or
Can't
concrete.
we, I mean, aren't we almost too early to force that decision because whatever that property decides to do will really determine that. They may still feel they need to put up a concrete wall, even if we allow a split rail for these people.
Well, it'll be residential next to commercial and
So it has to be
Vinyl
vinyl
they'll,
or
they'll do it
concrete.
now.
But that's my point, is that whoever fills that lot with commercial
It needs-
will take care of this.
They'll have to add maybe some landscaping on the south side of the wall, but these guys are going to do the fence now.
If the 6-foot vinyl fence is already there, they don't have to do anything
Right.
additional. Commercial
Right.
doesn't. When
Well,
they
the,
build,
the question is, do you want a vinyl fence there or a concrete wall?
We're talking about like 100 feet or so. So it's,
I'd probably
just
go
want a
for
clarification.
concrete just because white vinyl fence is pretty stark.
What's the difference in cost? Any idea?
Thousands.
the developer will be able to tell you. $1 million.
$1 million.
Millions.
I mean, our preference would probably be the vinyl just because the HOA takes it over after as well. And there's 32 units. But the difference in cost, like the vinyl, you're around $23 a lineal foot. Your concrete ranges from
We just put one up.
75 to 110. I mean, it changes all the time, but
Does it have to be white vinyl?
And it's not very long. That's not a.
that's
No.
the question,
100
because
feet or
there is a
so.
difference.
no.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the question is
No.
it's a little harder when you're dealing with smaller quantities of a type of product like that. But
I don't want white
Yeah.
vinyl, but I'm okay with like a tan vinyl if that allows them to meet the spirit of the ordinance
It will reflect less sun, that's
and
for sure.
and not create a giant eyesore for the city. I mean,
So what's
Sure.
the allowance for a middle ground, like a product, like a prefabbed, like a Simtech or something similar to that? I don't want to dictate a brand.
So you have like a Trex type is
Yeah.
kind of an in between. The Trex is they're fine. The problem you have with the Trex against when you have weeds and stuff is they have a groove at the bottom and it becomes an infestation problem of spiders.
vinyl has the same issue.
Oh, my
does it not?
gosh.
And
Vinyl
the
doesn't
vinyl
have
is a
a-
coated wrapped product. And the reason I know that is because I
Post
have it at
goes
my
inside
house.
and it's open
My kids won't go by the fence because there's always spiders in the Trex.
because you have composite or you
So-
have vinyl.
He just needs to break out the. spread.
Trex.
Trex.
Yeah, so the vinyl, from HOA and for maintenance and for replacement is an easier product to work with when you're dealing with smaller amounts of
Resident.
residents. And so that would be our preference. Of course, we're open and love working with Noah. We don't ever want to go against him. In this instance, we'd prefer to do the vinyl just to be consistent with the other railed fencing and so forth. So.
I think this is kind of like choosing lights for your house where you think that it's going to be an issue and it never is because they just end up lighting your home and you don't recognize whether it was a brass finish or a silver finish. So I think that's the 1-to-4 ratio for cost to me is prohibitive. And I would rather see that money spent on something that actually mattered and that would make a difference to them rather than 100 feet of a lovely fence. So I am completely supportive of a vinyl fence. And I agree that it might help if we don't want a stark look. Of course, I don't consider white a stark look, but because the whole world, we always talk about white picket fences. So why are we suggesting it's stark? It's not, it's homey. But anyway, I have them.
You don't have a 6-foot white picket fence.
It's
No,
actually,
I don't have a white picket fence. I have a white vinyl fence. Anyway, I think that it's fine if you want to do it in a warmer color, brown or something, taupe. But I do think that we shouldn't be, I don't think this is something to argue about.
Lisa, this was your discussion item. Can you make that by way of motion?
Yes, I move. Was this specifically about that?
No, this
I
is.
was gonna say, this is just a,
The whole thing. That was the big issue.
no, sorry to get us off track. I should have explained it. It's not necessarily an aesthetic issue. You're going to be next to a busy road in between commercials. So the concrete is more durable as far as
Absorbent.
sound attenuation and more resistant to rocks and things like that. But regardless, I don't, as you can probably tell, I don't have necessarily a really strong preference. It was just one of these outlining things that I just wanted to get some last minute.
Feedback on or
feedback, yeah.
something.
So this number 10 is not about this
No.
fencing. This is something.
It's the
one
whole
aspect
project.
of
the
Yep,
project.
the whole
It
rezone.
could
Yep.
be
So
if
I'm
we
not
want to add it
proposing
in.
anything.
If you're willing to
Okay.
hang up the project for that,
Nope.
then yes, it's all about that.
I'm not.
Yeah.
Can we move this a few weeks out? Just kidding. I moved.
Almost fell out of his chair. Did you see that?
So so I can propose
Sorry.
though, that we approve ordinance 2021-23, the application for rezone from general commercial to planned residential development at 2376 West, 1700 South, and authorized to execute development agreement.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Seth. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that was unanimous, Cassie.
Thank you.
Let me see, we're on 11.
Yes. Amending county or council rules of order and procedures regarding electronic meetings.
Paul or Cassie?
All right, so this is, we just talked about this 2 weeks ago. I did add the provision we discussed related to being, if you're in town and you're healthy, you need to be here unless there are certain, not named, but just extenuating circumstances. So if that's to your liking, I'll turn it back to you. Thank you.
Okay. So is everybody clear about what we're looking?
Yes,
at?
sir.
Okay. Any discussion on this? Let's
So
see,
just one question. So would this then be applicable to planning commission as well?
No, this just governs this body.
This body.
So
Corinne?
would we need to update that then to?
No, that's separate.
They have bylaws that we could amend if we, if we want to do
Yeah,
a
that's, I mean.
similar amendment. Yeah, it would need to be separate.
That is a good question for future thought, but in the meantime, I propose that we accept R 21-23 as written.
Okay, do I have a second?
Wait, it wasn't that one. It was 2137, right?
Excuse me, 37.
That was close.
A little
Second.
dyslexic there.
I second 37.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion, council, on our rules? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And I think this benefits all of us. There are times when you don't simply have internet connection, like I did in Spokane. But if you're just away, but you can still get, it makes it possible for us to be able to participate in the meeting and not fall behind. So we're at a point in time where we can offer public comment. Josh, do you have anything you want to say?
You're the man. We do have this public too, if they want.
Oh, I guess it was because I was the only one here. I thought you just really wanted to hear from me.
I do.
Josh Hughes, 1789 South Mills Lane. And let's hear it for Brody. What a fabulous presentation I thought earlier. And I have had a chance to work
I
with
cried at the end. It was
Yeah.
beautiful.
Robert Whiteley as well, was still choked up an hour later. But no, I've worked with a few city managers, and Brody seems to have a great way of balancing, letting staff do their jobs and not interjecting himself into everything, while still keeping a real good handle on things. And that's something that's always impressed me about Alex Jensen at Layton City. And I think he's, from what I've heard, considered to be one of the best city managers. And I've heard he's one of the best paid ones in the state. And of all the other city managers I've met, I put Brody right up in that category. I know the budget was already approved, so we can't approve a raise, but Brody does a real good job of hiring good people and then trusting them, I think, to do their jobs. And so anyway, just wanted to applaud Brody since you called me out, Mayor.
Welcome.
Thank you.
I'll call you up every time if you'll be positive for this. And by the way, there was a raise for Brody in the budget.
I would like to make a quick motion. This is not going to change the outcome of anything, but I'm rethinking item 10. And I would like to make a motion to reconsider and just change my vote. It won't change the outcome, but my concern is that the development agreement is agreeing to amend the the height of the building as well, and I was not in favor of that.
So you're going to change your vote? to
Yes,
negative.
that's all I wanted. You still need a motion. So
So,
a motion to reconsider so that I can vote the other way.
and this is item 10. This is
Item
related
10.
to the Aspire.
Yeah, this is the commercial element of the
No, that
development agreement on the whole project.
item 10 is the PRD that we just talked.
Are you meaning item
Am I
9?
Item
looking-
9.
Item 9.
Okay.
My apologies. So
So this is the amendment to the mixed use.
amending the mixed-use development agreement for architectural standard. It's more than just yeah.
Okay, you have a motion to reconsider. Do I have a second?
Do you need a second to?
I don't think
You
it
do
was
need a
changed the
second
I need
to
a
reconsider.
second.
Yeah.
I was taught that I need a second.
Okay,
I have a second.
I mean, if you just want to revote, I'll second it.
okay.
Okay, Seth. Okay, any further discussion? All in favor to reconsider?
I,
Aye. Oh,
Sure. Aye. Who's going to make the amendment again? Now who's going to,
I'll move to approve it.
yeah, go ahead and
Did we pass our
I
reconsideration?
don't know.
I didn't, yeah, Mayor,
Yeah,
we call for nays.
Please call for. a
Call for
vote.
nays. Anyone that says no to reconsider?
Reconsider?
No,
Okay, have one no.
Yeah, I don't think it needs to be reconsidered.
Okay, I have two. Passes. The reconsideration passes. No.
Motion to approve item 9.
Seth, will you, Councilmember Teague, will you please read the agenda language just for the
Yes.
record?
So I move that we approve proposed ordinance 2021-22, amending the development agreement for the Holt mixed use development at approximately 1225 West 1700 South.
Do I have a second?
second.
I have a second by Corinne. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
nay.
Nay.
Okay, we have two nays. Passes 3-2. Okay, thank you,
Thank you.
council. Thank you, council. Let's go on to public comments. Oh, we already had Josh do that. How about, let's talk about council reports and announcements. Where do we start? Seth, you want to start with you?
Right now, I don't have any.
All right, David?
I guess I do need to mention that there have been some changes in the Arts Council with a couple of resignations. And there's some consideration at this time of reducing the board, to a very large board. So that's going to be discussed.
Right, thank you. Lisa?
We are in need of cleanup, especially volunteers for the illumination event the day after the fireworks. We just need people who might have some big equipment or some sucking equipment to come and help suck up the debris. If anybody has time or a family or something that wants to have, they want to do that. And then also, we've had a Syracuse Steak who said they would like to offer like 150 adults want to come and help do some physical labor. So if there's anything that comes to mind, love to hear.
And that's on September 11th, isn't
Is
it?
that,
Yeah.
oh, sorry, I didn't remember there was a date. Yep. So
was.
anyway, if there's anything, Krista, anybody that has something in mind, they would like to volunteer for the city.
And that was brought to us by Jess Bigler.
Yes.
So she's awesome. So if we can,
And that's it.
Jordan?
Not just a big shout out to everyone that voted in the primary election. It looks like preliminary results are out, so that's exciting. And also, we will be having our Parks Committee next week. So obviously the public is invited to that, and that's it.
Okay. Corinne?
okay, today we had our museum meeting, and just a reminder for all of you forging fans, we're having 2 blacksmiths come on the week of September 13th to the 17th, and there's going to be 2 different days. They haven't been actually set yet. It's most likely going to be the Tuesday and Thursday of that week. From 3 to 6 p.m. They're going to have 2 blacksmiths forging all sorts of things, particularly one guy's doing all knives. My husband's so excited. So, and I want to tell Lad from the building department or the utilities department, thank you for helping us out with that, because he's going to be unloading their heavy equipment so that we can actually do it. And it's going to be held in the parking lot with part of the museum open to where our forge is, and it's a working forge. So, which is awesome, which came from Kano's. And their grandfather was the original blacksmith for this area and then passed on. And a lot of the tools that we have now on display were donated by Kano's that were actually made by his grandfather and father of the Kano brothers, which is pretty awesome. So put that on your calendars, come to that. And then don't forget that about our illumination event, August 30th, 31st, and September 1st. It's going to be awesome. Some great events online for helping to develop good coping skills for our youth in dealing with anxiety and depression. And as parents and family, how to help them to do that. And then on September 1st, we're all going to be at Founders Park for some great presentations on stage. We're going to have booths.
And the
Food
news,
trucks.
the news will probably be there.
Yes,
covering it.
Channel 4 might be there. They can't give us it, for sure, but they're really loving it. And the one guy, he lives in Syracuse, so he's vested in doing it. So, like I said, food trucks, and we're gonna have James Violet, who's a local Syracuse kid. He's gonna be singing and
You're a
talking. He was on The Voice. It's going to be awesome. And then fireworks to music. They're the best ever. So come. It's free. The food trucks you pay for, don't get me wrong, but the rest is free. So come. Bring your family, enjoy, and celebrate the good things in life and how to deal with the bad moments.
Thank you, Corinne. Before I turn to Brody, just something for the staff. The CTC has approached us wanting to pass out 2 or 3 or 4 days around the illumination because of the fireworks that could stimulate a bad reaction in a veteran who is suffering with, is it
PTSD.
PTSD?
My husband.
We will be the location for the picking up of a kit that contains some earplugs for those. And so, Steve, I'm going to have them store them in the mayor's office. But if someone comes in and asks for those, they'll just be on the table. I can't imagine it's a lot. It's just a little box like this. But they've got 100 of them, and they're going to announce to veterans if they have PTSD that they can come and get a set of earplugs there. Okay.
And we've been trying to advertise as much as possible that the event is happening, but I'm sure that there's going to be people that are unaware. And hopefully this will be an annual event, so they'll know September 1st, we'll probably have some fireworks.
Yeah. Okay. Brody?
I actually don't have anything additional. Josh, you know how to make a boy feel special. But manager's report will come out in the next couple of days for you. So there's a draft out, but it's not ready.
Council, it's 10 after 8.
Sweet.
I have a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
I have a motion. I have a second. Second by Jordan. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Any opposed? We are adjourned.